Chloe.
Hi, I'm Damaso.
Welcome to The Nest.
We hope you stay a while.
Today we're joined by Nikita. Nikita, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, my name is Nikita and I'm a senior in Image J. Congar High School. I have been a part of Eagle Scholar for over 6 years.
The stress of standardized testing is something that all teenagers can relate to. Today we'll be diving deeper into the world of standardized testing and its effect on teens. So let's kick things off with a brand new segment. Damaso, would you like to tell them what it's called?
Sure. It is called From an Eagle's Point of View. Would you like to explain what it is, Chloe?
Yes, we asked our fellow Eagle scholars to share their opinions on standardized testing. Let's check them out. We asked our fellow scholars 3 questions. The first question was,
were your experiences with standardized testing in the past positive or negative? This was more of a yes or no answer, so it's more percentages. The percentages were 63% said positive that they had an experience with it, and 37% said they have a negative experience with standardized testing. Did you think that would be the percentage? Did you think it'd be more or less? Do you have any opinions?
I thought that it would be more negative responses because, I've heard so many of my peers be like, oh, we have to take tests, and it's something that a lot of people dread. And so I'm surprised that a lot of them said negative, but maybe it was just they didn't have a negative experience, like nothing bad happened while testing,
Yeah, I get that because I don't think something too bad can happen during testing. What about you, Nikita?
I believe that it has a lot of negative to me personally because I get really anxious when I'm timed, and a lot of standardized tests usually is timed. And whenever I know that I'm being timed, and sometimes the teachers or others can keep on track of the time, and it makes me feel so anxious that I cannot focus on most of the tests that I'm doing. I spend most of the time anxiously zooming off instead of doing my test.
Yeah, I can agree with you, Nikita.
Yeah. Chloe, would you like to say our next question?
Yes. What scared you the most about standardized testing? And some people said not being able to keep up with the score and how demanding it can be sometimes, failing affecting the future, not being able to focus the whole time, fees to pay for it because, for AP tests, I think you have to pay to take them, right? If I'm not mistaken. They're not measuring my full knowledge, which I agree with too. Nerves not improving, staying still, stress and anxiety leading up to it, how demanding it is. We've got that twice now. Getting rest before, and then COVID. Yes, because COVID has changed the world of testing.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot different now that it's a lot more virtual, which could be a good or bad thing for some people. I think for me, at least, it's better, because I don't think it really changed how it performed. Maybe it distracted me more. But for me, it's just better because I can get off the Zoom after. Well, I don't know if they let us, but I'd like to get off the Zoom after and not just sit there in the room doing nothing after. What about you, Nikita?
For me, like I told y'all, I'm very anxious when I'm timed doing test or something, and having a timer in front of me always makes me anxious. And I think the best way is to cope with that is not to constantly look at the time or think about the time. It's important we do because we have to know when we have to finish, but constantly thinking about that, it's what pushes away from doing our test. And also getting a lot of sleep and getting a lot of drinking a lot of water really helps, because when you don't have enough of those, and the moment the test comes, because I'm pretty sure no one likes to take a test and it usually makes us feel sleepy or slacks us off.
Yeah, there have been many times where I've 75% through the test and just I don't want to do this, man. I'm too sleepy. Can I sleep? But then I can't. Maybe after.
Anyways, reading tests are like that. Reading tests are like that because, when you get to the last story, you're like, I really do not want to read this. And so you're just like, ugh. And then also I do not annotate on the last story. Most of the time on my test, I cannot annotate. I just be like, circle, 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 because it's just it's too much.
My teacher makes me do it every time, and I hate it because, I mean, I guess maybe it helps, but like, it's too much, man. It's too much. But after that, we should move on to our next question, which was our final question, is what excited you most about standardized testing? Which I don't know if I would agree that anything is exciting about it, but our responses were, it tests my ability on test taking. Nothing. Understandable. A lot of people don't really have much to look forward to. Another one was moving on to the next stage, getting a good score, seeing my improvement, which I kind of agree with. When there are less questions, when it's done, and it being towards the end of school and then going home. Do you have any opinions on these? Because a lot of these, yeah.
I like how some of these are kind of like sarcastic because they're like, what excited you the most about standardized testing? And then they're like, going home. Anyways, but I can agree with these because no one really gets excited for tests. No one's like, woo, I'm going to take the star today. Like, no one does that. Everyone's like, I guess I'm going to take the star. Or you're like, ugh, we're going to take the star. It's never like, woo,
What about you, Nikita?
Okay, so me personally, I feel like it really helps me since, like I told you, like every time I'm very anxious, and I feel like every time I do this kind of test, it helps me improve little by little, trying to get used to being timed and looking at the time. And also another thing that excites me other than improving my anxious behavior is me knowing that I'm moving to the next level, like Damaso said, like, because every time we do some kind of test, it always has a meaning to it. We're always like moving on to the next level, like going to a different grade or getting something, or like moving to the next topic. So that is very exciting to move on from what you're doing to the next level.
Yeah, I mean, for the improvement part, I don't think it's really during the test. Maybe when I get the scores, it'll be like, hey, I got what I expected. Good. If I get lower, but anyways, Chloe, do you want to continue on to our next segment?
Yes, so that segment was Eagle's point of view. And so now we'll be moving on to our main discussion like we always do. And so for the first question, it is, how has standardized testing affected you and your peers? So Damaso, would you like to answer this question?
Sure. I mean, for me, it doesn't really affect me that much other than, if you pass, which is kind of important, at least for me. I don't want to be, held back. My peers, I don't really know. If we do talk about tests, it's really not like, oh, what affected you? It's more like, bro, that was really bad, wasn't it? Yeah, I hated it. Kind of typical banter. What do you think, Nikita?
As for my peer, I do not know, but me personally, it has affected me with my SATs. So SATs is all about time, and we have to do it super quick. And as me, like, who gets really anxious looking at the time, like they put a timer right in front of us, and I don't know why, I'm always in front of the class, right in front of the time, and the teacher is always constantly reminding us. And when I'm taking SAT, most of the time I zoom off, like just looking at the time, I just zoom off. Like I feel so anxious and stressed, like instead of doing the test, actually I'm just here fighting with myself within my head. And so that has actually affected me getting good scores in SAT.
Interesting. I'm kind of the opposite because, well, I don't know if I'm still like this, but in elementary, a lot of my teachers were like, go slower because you'll make more mistakes if you go that fast, because I always finish really fast. I'm not sure if I got good or bad scores. I like to think I got good scores, but maybe not. Our next question will be, how do you relieve stress on test dates? Do you have any techniques you might suggest to any of the viewers? I don't really have stress. I don't get stressed about it. Many things. So I don't really have any techniques. That'll probably come to bite me in the butt later. But, for now, I'm good.
Personally, like when I get stressed, I don't know. I just think, oh, I need to pass. That just helps me, because sometimes when I get stressed, just like Nikita, I zone out for a little bit. I'm like, oh my God, I won't get this done. I start breathing heavy, but then I'm like, I want to go to sleep after this. So I get it done. And I'm also like, I have to pass,
As for me, right, the best technique that I have is, like I mentioned before, sleeping is one of the best things because you do not want to be getting zoned off. And another one is practice, like practice, because when you get to the time and when you're like taking the test and not knowing any of the subject or topic that you have to cover in the test really stresses you out, and it also just makes you guess. So I think doing practice is one of the best technique before you start a test, and it should be for everyone.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure, because I realized like that's why they do so much review before we go take the STAR, because they want us to make sure that we have that material in our head so that whenever we see a question that looks even just slightly similar to that question, we'll be able to answer it like this, you know?
Yeah, that actually helps me a lot because I forget a lot of things from like the beginning that are really simple. I'm like, how do you do this again? Because we don't really focus on them. Because 9 months later, we don't really need them, at least for like the classwork. But I am not but appreciate the review.
Yeah. Okay. So do y'all feel like good test scores correlate with intelligence? Personally, no, because I feel like not all skills are determined by what's on a piece of paper, like 1 + 2 and all that stuff. Like all skills of intelligence, like there's different things that contribute to intelligence, not just test scores, you know? And it's like, I feel like it's not measured, like all of your intelligence isn't measured just by a percentage, you know? How about you, Damaso?
I definitely agree. As someone, I like to think I'm smarter. I'm probably not, but I really don't think so, because that's only like what they've taught you. What if you don't know anything else about the world? You don't know how to buy food. You don't know where your local grocery store is. How are you going to survive? So yeah, I really don't think it's accurate. What do you think, Nikita?
Oh, so as for me, my answer is mostly no. Like I said, my SAT score wasn't the best because I feel so anxious every time when I'm timed, and every time when I'm doing tests, I can't do my best in the test, you know, and it really doesn't show my intelligence most of the time. And it goes the same way for most of the people. There's a lot of people that faces the same problem as me, and there's also, I know there's people who gets who feels nauseous and stuff when they're taking a test, no matter how smart they are. So this also, it prevents a lot of smart people from doing their best in the test, and which shouldn't be judged based on their nervousness. It shouldn't be judged on intelligence.
Yeah, because there's a lot of smart people that just don't have good test scores because they don't want to have good test scores. Like if you're not trying just because you don't want to, like obviously you're not going to get good test scores. Doesn't mean they're not smart. But yeah, do you have anything you wanted to say, Chloe?
I was gonna say that I agree with you what you said at the beginning about what's on the test is just what you're taught. And to me, I feel like a lot of testing is memory. Because if you remember how to do that math problem, when you see those numbers again, it's just different numbers, but it's the same way to do it, you know? And it's like with reading, if you know that material, if you know how to read the story, how to annotate, how to do all that stuff, it's like, of course, you're going to remember how to do it. And it's just, oh yeah, and social studies is straight up memory. That is, oh, do you remember this time? Do you remember what happened this day? And so it's just like, personally, I feel like intelligence also is determined on how many life skills you have as well, and soft skills and stuff like that, because those are things that contribute to how you do in the workplace and how you will just do in life and how successful you will be, you know?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. But our next question is, if you had the option, would you continue taking standardized tests? And if you said no, do you have any ways you think you could make it better? I really don't know what else I would take. I don't really know much about these things. So I'd say sure, because not like I like them, but they're the best I have, I guess. I don't know. What do you think, Chloe?
Personally, I think we should keep it, but just reform standardized tests, because I feel like right now it's like one thing that I would change is that we wouldn't do tests altogether, because one thing that has affected me is seeing that everybody's finishing and seeing that I'm the last person, or seeing that everybody's finishing, because that makes me start to rush in my head, because I'm like, oh, I need to pick up the pace. you know, because a lot of the times it's like slowness is associated with like not doing well or not getting the material. And so I feel like if I was by myself, I have more time to focus. I wouldn't be trying to look at what other people are doing, you know? And also it gets rid of that stupid, because so many teachers are focused on, oh, they're going to cheat. They're going to cheat. They're going to cheat. And so if we were just in a room by ourselves, they don't have to even worry about that threat, you know? So what about you, Nikita?
Okay, so me, I think they should keep it. I know I hate it and it really affects me, but also like it's what keeps us going. So for like students, let's talk about students. So if we know that we don't have to be tested and like to be based on what we have learned, I feel like it makes us start slacking off. It's like, oh, we don't have a test. Like they don't need to know what we know or stuff like that, you know? So for us to like know, like move on from like let's say from algebra to algebra 2, we have to know certain things in algebra, right? And so if they don't do tests, they don't know if we know it. So doing that test, not all, it makes us like study, it helps us study and focus on the classes or any subjects or whatever like we're taking the test on. It's what pushes to do, to learn and to remember.
All right. Yeah, I definitely agree. And so for our next question, do you think standardized testing will be used in the future? If not, what will be the alternative? Personally, I feel like in a world of technology, and it's only going to get better and better and better, I feel like standardized testing is kind of going to be old, especially after COVID and after everything that's going on. It's like people are going to be like, how can we improve this? Because standardized testing has held a lot of people back, and it's like it's a big obstacle for a lot of people. And so it's just like, I don't know what will be in the future, like what will be the alternative, but I feel like we're kind of going to outgrow that system, you know, because the education system is one of the areas that has not changed a lot in the past few years, even though technology has changed, that and the criminal justice system. But both of those, they have stayed the same for quite a while. What about you, Damaso?
As I kind of said, I don't know where it will go. I'm sure, I hope at least that it will change, because I'm sure it's not the best we could have right now. I think maybe it will be used like in the far future, maybe like a version of it, maybe. But I hope that the version we have now is not the one that they will use, because like as Chloe said, it's not been changed for like what, 100 years or something like that. What do you think, Nikita?
Me personally, I believe we will have this because let's face it, to move a grade or like to get a good career such as doctor, engineer, whatever, they need to know that we are ready for this certain field or certain grade. So because they can't just randomly just move on to the next level of our life, next journey of our life. So like let's say we are a doctor, there's a doctor who needs to become a doctor. They can't just straight up go clueless mind and perform a surgery on someone, or there can be engineer just cluelessly making something without any people knowing, or there's any fact knowing that he or she can do it. So we will have this so they will know that we are ready to move on to the next, to do certain things that we're trying to do.
When you said that, I feel like in the future, if you do have standardized testing material would change a little bit. Like I feel like they're gonna go with more hands-on things, because you know, with the with the improvement of technology over the years, who knows, our test might be VR, like for certain professions, like they might be performing a surgery like through VR or something, you know?
Yeah, like more practical tests instead of just like, do you know this? Because it's better to see if you can actually do it, apply it, than if you just know it.
I totally see like a VR, like, you know, you're like, you know, like a lot of the movies here, like when it shows like future technologies, like there's a VR, like you're doing something, but it's actually not real. They just like in your brain, they put some kind of machine on you. So I feel like I could totally see someone doing that, like building something or doing something. Yeah, I totally agree with Chloe and Damaso.
And that concludes today's episode.
We want to thank Nikita for being a wonderful guest. Thank you, Nikita.
Yes, thank you.
And remember to check out the resources in the description box to continue this conversation about standardized testing.
Subscribe and turn on post notifications so you never miss when we upload. Make sure to be tuned in for next episode.
Yep, until next time, remember, if you're not going to speak up, how is the world supposed to know you exist? Bye.
Bye.